Alf, why are you slouching? What's going on, sports card hobby family? It's another day. It's Friday. It's another sports card video. Thank you very much for joining me here today, friends. The good news is if we go back to the Ohio Best Western story where $2 million of memory lane auction items were stolen, signed for, and then vanished, unsolved mysteries, we do have an update in the case from collect.com, and they are saying that 52 out of the 54 cards have been recovered, so that's the good news. The bad news is we are hit right smack with another story of a guy that already was in jail for some weird burglary type stuff. Investigation that lasted over 2 years between PSA and the FBI and others to solve this thing. Fake Slab. So it's a give and take here. We've got some good news and we found some cards. We got some bad news, and then we got some fake slabs that are all over the place. Shout out to these companies. First, Card Capsule. You want supplies, you want them at a good price. Cardcapsule.us, and I'll have links down below in the video description where you can find this stuff. Back in stock, and due to high demand, especially we got the National coming up, it's the Slab backpack. So this thing is actually pretty sweet. It's the Slab backpack. It's back in stock for $50 off of this puppy. I will have a coupon code. I'll put it on the screen if we can, but for $50 off, along with all the other cases and semi-rigids and the card sleeves and all the other stuff that you need, check out Card Capsule today. Wooten Sports Cards on Whatnot. Yesterday, he just had a huge sale on the Whatnot machine, selling singles, football cards, a lot of basketball because we're right in the middle of the NBA playoffs. Wooten Sports Cards, 11,000 plus followers, 5-star reviews on Whatnot, so definitely check out Wooten Sports Cards. The guys over at Wax Stat Al, my buddy Al, you might be looking to buy new products, whether it be hobby box or blasters or whatever. Every week he updates the site at waxstat.com so you can get a good idea of where is the cheapest product. Because, guys, there's no secret here that it's expensive. New product is expensive. WaxStat keeping track multiple times a day of price movements on new product as well as older product as well. So definitely check out waxstat.com. And then justcollect.com, you've got a collection that you want to sell. Get an appraisal, go onto the website, see if it might be for you. And tonight, vintagebreaks.com, there is a near set 52 tops set break that they are doing. If you go in the chat, put Sports Card Dad in the chat sent you, you get a $20 credit with vintagebreaks.com if you are a new customer, so definitely check it out. All right, now to the stories. Collect.com been on a tear with some really great stories here recently. I'll start with the fake slab story because this is one that's going to be of interest. This actually caught my eye going back, I think it's almost been a couple years now, but My Slabs had posted that they have a high-end sale that occurred on My Slabs. It was a PSA 1086 Fleer Jordan card, and they announced the sale, but then immediately kind of pulled it back because they found that something was off with this. And since then, I hadn't heard anything about it. I had heard in the meantime of, be careful because there's real cards in fake slabs. We've heard over the last couple of years, there are instances of real cards that are in slabs, PSA slabs, that are essentially fake slabs. They've got fake labels that have been created and they look very good enough to pass at a card show. I remember, I think it was Ryan Breakout Cards that was talking about a few different cards that he saw that just didn't look right. I don't know if it was these guys' cards or somebody else. It's scary to think about, right? But 2-year investigation where PSA has been working with the FBI on this behind the scenes. And it just goes to show that the wheels of law enforcement, it might not be quick, but they are working on things in the background. And the one guy that got busted, it's such a strange story. He got out of jail for, I think, like robbing an armored truck or something. And he was a motivational speaker and wrote children's books. Ironically, one called My Dad's in Jail or something. I mean, it's just strange how like some of these people think and how this ends up going down. But it looks like he is going down again. He's been indicted, and this is a major deal where it's up to 20 years maximum in prison if convicted. And the fact that you have a prior conviction, I don't think necessarily helps your case, but who knows? We've seen actually in a lot of these types of cases where people get off fairly light on this sort of thing, but we'll have to find out what happens here. But basically the tip-off was, according to the article on collect.com that Will Stern did, July of 2023, these guys sold one of these cards to an undercover police officer and accepted a wire transfer for it. And so it was a downhill spiral for them from there. So it's good to see that grading companies and law enforcement are always actively working on these types of cases, because as great as the hobby is, as cool and this and that and whatever, man, there is a lot of BS shyster type stuff that happens too. Of course, we would report on some of it here, but there is quite a bit of it. You know, at every single major card show, you probably have some dumb stuff that's going down. I mean, you know, the Dallas Card Show, the National, it's probably above board, good stuff, but yeah, this stuff is a target. You know, if you can roll into a card show and move stolen goods or fake stuff or whatever, it's been done in this hobby for decades, whether it be cards or sports memorabilia, fake memorabilia. The FBI, law enforcement, they are always at the National. They are at every single National walking around. You might not know who they are, but they are checking out, especially sports memorabilia, because people love to try to sell fake sports memorabilia at card shows. Okay, let's move to the next story. Also, a third story that we're going to talk about that hit me this morning that I want to address at the very end. So stay to the very end of the video. $2 million of cards recovered. The memory lane auction, $2 million of cards, it looks to be recovered. Thank goodness. Memory Lane shipped this thing out to a Best Western leading up to a card show. A lot of people are like, how the heck does this happen? And it turns out that the reason why, according to this article, that Memory Lane kept the auctions running, because I remember a lot of people, and myself included, thinking like, why would you keep those auctions running if you can't place the cards? And it was because law enforcement had told them, hey, we have a lead on a suspect. Don't do anything, don't change anything, because if you shut down your auction, then it tips off the potential perpetrator that we're working to get here. And so to kind of keep everything on the DL, on the down low, they kept everything rolling along, and that's because law enforcement told them to do so. And it did pan out here. I believe that I read that the guy ended up quitting his job or something, and that was another thing that was a little bit suspicious. Like a couple of days after receiving the packages, he quit. So it's like, why did you quit? That's interesting. So anyway, it was kind of a weird limbo situation where these cards, it's not that they were lost in the mail, they were actually signed for, delivered, and then they kind of vanished, which is a nightmare, especially if you're thinking about from an insurance standpoint, because the insurance company, depending on your insurance, and I don't know Memory Lane's coverage. Maybe they had just all covering everything. You would hope so for $2 million worth of cards. 50 cards, roughly 54 cards worth $2 million. You know, we're not talking about 1,000 cards worth $2 million. We're talking about some really rare, expensive individual items. So talk about sweating bullets, whether you're the consignor, whether you're trying to buy this thing, whether you're the auction house Memory Lane. But it does turn out that this thing has a semi-happy ending. There are 2 cards that are outstanding somewhere. And so hopefully mostly here a happy ending really for both of these stories, because eventually it gets worked out, but you never know, especially with these cards that were stolen, these really rare cards. They could have been accidentally destroyed, accidentally thrown away. There's a lot of different scenarios to where this thing could have gone bad and gone sideways. So it sounds like things are on the up and up. The last story that hit me this morning, and I'm just a little bit blown away by this. Of course, we've got nil deals in college sports, but now the NCAA and its 5 power conferences, which is essentially all of the colleges, has agreed to allow schools to pay players directly. So this is not necessarily just corporations being able to come in or marketing agents being able to come in. So for an athlete's name and likeness, they can get a piece of the pie. They can get deals. They can make a deal with Nike. They can make a deal with Fanatics while they're in college. Now, literally the schools can pay, hey, here's a contract to come and play for us here at the University of Alabama or whatever it's going to be. But that is some wild stuff. I really like this because I'm going to be perfectly honest. I've got 2 kids that are in college. College tuition has gotten so wildly expensive, and the athletics department raises a ton of money for these colleges. I love the fact that colleges are going to have to dole out some of this money, because a lot of them are just kind of putting all this money away. Administration is now getting paid $1 zillion for whatever. I don't know if it has a positive effect on tuition. I'm sure the universities will say like, oh, well, now we have to pay players, so now it's going to be triple or whatever. Who knows how that's going to work out. But I'm happy for college athletes that are out here selling jerseys, selling signatures, selling all this stuff, that they can actually get paid to do it. It does majorly change the dynamic of sports, because for some of these stars especially, I mean, you're going to have pro level salaries, comparable probably, maybe not the same, but highly competitive salaries for, guys that are just getting transferred out of high school to come and play college football or college basketball, college baseball, whatever it is. I mean, that is a game changer for the pro leagues. These guys are going to come into the pros already millionaires. It was always the case to where before it was like, oh man, you're trying to get to the pros so you can get that big contract. It's going to be very, very different moving forward. You had the Marvin Harrison Jr. lawsuit with Fanatics. And I wonder, does this make players a little bit more bold, kind of in the same way as a Marvin Harrison Jr. dealing with these companies, because they don't need that Fanatics money. I know you might say like, oh, they'll definitely take the money. Yeah, but think about if they have been already getting paid millions of dollars 2-3 years into their college athletic career. They're not necessarily, oh my God, I got to get this Fanatics deal. I got to get this Nike deal. I mean, of course you want it, but if you're a high level athlete like a Marvin Harrison Jr., you probably have a few different sponsors. Like Fanatics is maybe one of them, but you got Nike, you got whoever else, that's coming out of the woodwork to pay you. And I think that's going to be really interesting how they negotiate autograph deals and memorabilia deals and all this stuff moving forward. I think personally it's going to make all this stuff more expensive. And what I mean by that is, I don't think Fanatics is going to get some amazing autograph deal from these players. I don't know what they currently pay now, but I have to assume that the price is going to move upward, which in turn means the price moves upward for the consumer. It's not like Fanatics is just going to eat that money. They're going to pass that down to the customer. So these high-profile college athletes that are coming up that are very popular, you want their autograph, I think you're really going to be paying up for it. And you want that signed helmet, then you're going to be paying up for it. So again, what's the moral of the story? Nothing is getting cheaper for us on the final end, on the back end of this, trying to collect things. Nothing is probably going to get cheaper anytime soon for this stuff. So that's all I've got, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Remember, stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.